Hello, my name is Lucas Pita and I'm an exchange student in Flormont, Texas. And this is my ESL final project, which is about different types of patriotism. So, when I really started this project, my first idea was to make a comparison why Americans are more patriotic than Brazilians. And I had a lot of evidence who apparently supported this thesis, but after just researching it a little bit, I saw that making any kind of affirmation like that would be completely wrong. So I'm not here to say that Americans are or aren't, or Brazilians are or aren't more patriotic than Americans are the other way around, but I'm here just to explain the different types of patriotism. So when I first got here, I found very interesting the way that Americans used to express their love to their fatherland. I don't know if it's just because I'm in Texas, but it isn't hard to you walk around and see a lot of flags in front of countless houses and see people dressed with the colors of the national flag and also dressed with the symbols that represent the country, like such as the eagle and more. But not only that, but my first week here, I joined the school's wrestling team and we had a meet with another school. And I found very different because just before the meeting started, everyone got up and started facing the flag that was on top of the gym, and they started to sing the anthem while facing the flag, and everyone with an expression of respect and like a very solemn experience. And well, I can remember any time that I sang the national anthem and while facing the flag before a soccer game, but when I lived in Brazil, maybe a prayer if it was an event with a lot of people from church, but not more than that. Furthermore, I felt fascinated by when I discovered that every day during the second period class before the announcements, everyone in the class would get up and we would pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and also pledge allegiance to the flag of Texas. And regarding to that, we can even do a comparison with something that we used to do back in middle school. But just once a weekend we would sing the anthem while putting up the flag, but just once a weekend you didn't have to be facing the flag. But that's kind of similar, right? And of course some people would be doing something on their phones because they're teenagers, but almost everyone in class would be with an expression of respect while doing that. And so with all these affirmations, you'll be thinking, yeah, you're right, Brazilians are not patriotic, or they don't have any bit of nationalism and they don't have the respect for their country. Or you might also think, no, Americans are too patriotic or they are too nationalists. Anyway, but I'm here to tell you that no, it's not like that. So by the dictionary, the word patriot means the one that loves his fatherland, and the word nationalism is preference for his nation, and it's also synonymous with patriot. And however, we can go even further because the word patriota that you guys don't have here, but means something like countryman or fatherland, comes from Greek, from somewhere about the 6th century. But the noun patriotism only was nominated on the 18th century by the Enlightenment movement. So why? Besides the scientific ideas of the time that we all know about, the Enlightenment movement was trying to separate themselves, make a separation of church and state. That before that we all know that the church was the biggest, was the one who had the last word about everything. So was the one who really ruled the world. And they were trying to make the biggest gap possible between church and state. And the best way that they found to do that was making people have pride towards things that like symbols toward symbols that represents the land and not more the land itself. So before the middle of the 18th century, if you say that someone was patriotic, he would love his land. Like he would remember his land, his grass, his trees, his natural wealth, everything like that. But in the middle of the 18th century, this started to change. People started to feeling patriotic not more towards their land, but towards symbols of their land or symbols of the government, like the flag, like other symbols that represent the government and things like that. And of course, not only the Enlightenment movement helped, but other things such as the American and French Revolution. But anyway, in the end of the 18th century, this idea of patriotism, the one more towards symbols and not the land itself, was the one that most people throughout the world had. However, if we see that as the only possible and the only right way of patriotism or nationalism, we would be saying that before the middle of the 18th century, no person that stepped on the face of earth was patriotic or didn't have any bit of nationalism. And saying that would be as ignorant as my thesis when I first started this, that I was trying to make comparison of who is more and who is less patriotic. So here I found the nationalism and the patriotism of the middle of the 18th century. But in Brazil, we are patriotic and we have nationalism in the most simple way of the word, in the most simple meaning of the word. And however may not always sing or enter turning to the flag before every football game, which you guys here call soccer, it's very unusual to go to a game and to not see at least one person wearing a shirt of our national team. And what Brazilian doesn't feel pride of being part of the country that holds the biggest forest in the world, that is even called lung of the world? What Brazilian isn't full of joy when he remembers the barbecues with friends at the sound of samba and pagode? What Brazilian doesn't love samba? What Brazilian doesn't love carnival? Even if he's to run away from his city and take a rest in one of the most beautiful beaches in the world that we have in our shore. And to the Brazilians who don't live in Brazil anymore, something that at first may appear as a non-patriotic attitude, which one of you doesn't feel happy when you hear someone speaking Portuguese near to you? Who doesn't feel, and like a few minutes later, you're both laughing and speaking like if you're long time friends, and smiling like if you're long time friends? Who doesn't feel that squeeze in the heart when our football team goes into the field and soon after felt relieved and pride, seeing the team with the canary shirts performing at its best? These are the patriotic feelings that any Brazilian have, and it isn't by chance that our patriotism is like this. I mean, besides having this huge cultural diversity and this country that we don't have any kind of natural disasters such as hurricanes, earthquakes, seaquakes, and things like that. And this comes back from long before. This comes from the time of when Brazil was still a colony. And the biggest proof and example of that would be the Song of the Exile written by Gonçalves Dias. And to understand this poem, we need to know that the author, at the moment that he wrote it, he was not in Brazil. He was studying law at Columbia University. So he was suffering from both a physical and geographical exile from his beloved nation. And the poem says, Minha terra tem palmeiras, onde canta o sabiá. As aves que aqui gorjeiam, não gorjeiam como lá. Nosso céu tem mais estrelas, nossas várzeas têm mais flores, nossos bosques têm mais vidas, nossas vidas mais amores. Em cismar sozinho à noite, mais prazer encontro lá. Minha terra tem palmeiras, onde canta o sabiá. Minha terra tem primores, que tais não encontro cá. Em cismar sozinho à noite, mais prazer encontro lá. Minha terra tem palmeiras, onde canta o sabiá. Não permita, Deus, que eu morra, sem que eu volte para lá. Sem que eu desfrute os primores que eu não encontro por cá. sem quinda viste as palmeiras, onde canta o sabiá.